All right, so I've opened the document again, the narrated PowerPoint instructions from our week 12-13 folder. So I'm going to look at this document now. We already talked about flip and the rest of it. So this document is the assignment itself. As you know, you wrote a report and it was brilliant. Thank you very much. I'll be marking those this week. I hope to get them back to you by, what's today? I hope to have them back to you by Friday, so that you will have my feedback before you do your presentation itself. If there are any really drastic problems, I will personally email you as soon as I realize that, so do keep an eye on your email this week for sure. The presentation, as you know, is based on your report. We are in a fictional world where you have your future job and you have been asked to make this major purchase for your company. And as your boss, I am now coming to you and saying that report was brilliant, and now it is time to present your findings and your recommendation to the Vice President of Finance. So I would like you to convert your report into a PowerPoint presentation of no more than 5 minutes. That is your maximum time. He's a busy man. We do not want to waste his time. The presentation should be at least 8 PowerPoint slides. That's a minimum. Okay, so 5 minutes in length, at least 8 PowerPoint slides. You do not need to include a reference page with this because I do have the report, so I know what your sources were. So in-text citations, reference page, not necessary for the presentation itself. What is necessary? Well, you're going to convince me by showing the details from your report, good images, statistics, data, whatever would help me to understand, or for the Vice President to understand what it is that you looked over and what it is you intend to purchase and why. So, as it says, refer to your textbook, chapter 14. I will also be talking about public speaking as well as presentation slides and that type of thing today, but also the example is provided there as I showed you earlier. If you are working with a partner, if you wrote your report together, you are welcome to do your presentation together. If you want to pair up for the presentation, you will choose one person's report to present. So I will leave that up to you. If you are working with a partner, please let me know so that I grade you accordingly. Please shoot me a quick email just telling me who you're working with so that I know your partners. All right, the content of your presentation, what am I looking for? It will follow the same structure as your report with an introduction, body, and conclusion. As I said, it will be a minimum of at least 8 slides, and normally a report of this length converted to a presentation takes about 3 to 5 minutes. Flip is giving you a maximum of 5 minutes. If you come to class to present in person, you will also only be given 5 minutes. In any professional work environment board meeting that would involve vice presidents, you would be given a specific time slot to speak. So it is good for you to be able to get the skill of editing yourself and knowing, how to get your content into a 5-minute window. You will also be providing, for part of your grade, a one-page outline. This is not the text of your presentation. I've already read your report. You need to go to the textbook, look at page 384, figure 14.3 for an example. Go into the same amount of detail that is shown there in the textbook for your outline. It's what I'm expecting. You will be submitting that to the week 13 folder in the discussion board. I'm just going to pop over there now and show you. As I showed you earlier, just go into discussions. It's now the top one. I moved it. And just go in here and attach your outline. Okay. Upload a document. Please make it a Word or PDF document and attach it there. I will be following along as you do your presentation on Flip or in person. All right, I think I've messed up and put week 14 a couple of times where I meant to put week 13. Just forgive me. Sorry about that. All right, where are your marks going to come from? Well, as always, an introduction is important. You're going to address the audience. It is the Vice President that you are presenting to, so keep that in mind. Use an effective attention grabber. If you didn't have one in your report, get one now. Get him on board, get him interested in your topic, and then introduce and preview the 3 points that you are going to cover, the 3 options that you explored. For the content, present your material in an organized manner with clear progression, good description of details, go into enough detail. Don't just pop a chart up there on the screen and don't say anything. Keep talking throughout your presentation. It is just as if you were live in person. And use good transitions between your points. The first, second, finally, therefore, additionally. All those words help to carry your listener and your viewer through your content. Once you're presented the 3 options in the body of your content, you'll be moving to your conclusion. And this is where you will be talking about your recommendation. Make sure you let your audience know that you are coming to your conclusion, that this is the wrap-up of your content. Summarize the main points, bring in that recommendation, and end with a memorable clincher. The last thing you say should have some impact. Maybe give them an action item, a date, a deadline, something like that as a solid conclusion. Where else are your marks coming from? Well, your visual aids. Your slides are getting some marks here as well. Are they easy to view? Have you chosen a good font size? Is your wording appropriate? Do not read your content. Okay, I can read. I already read your report. You should not have paragraphs of text on your slides. You should be using keywords, images, that type of thing to guide your reader, but do not read to us. Well-chosen graphics, in fact, get you another part of your mark, and the fact that they're integrated effectively into your presentation, that your timing is good on moving from slide to slide, that type of thing. Your delivery, how you speak, also gets you some marks. Are you clear and confident? Do you have good expression and emphasis? Is your timing accurate again? And it says a score of 0 will be given to those who read the slide content. It's true. If you just sit down and read your report and click through some slides, I'll give you a 0. Try it. Find out. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, don't read to us. Okay, this is a presentation. You know the difference of someone getting up and reading a textbook to you and someone getting up and doing a PowerPoint presentation as a lecture. So you know which one I'm after. The last part of your mark is that outline. Okay, it's worth 10 of your 60 marks, so that's a chunk. Since this is worth, I think, 15% of your grade, so make sure you include that outline. It is part of your grade. All right, so that is the assignment itself. If you have any questions, be sure to email me. And now I'm going to pop over to the PowerPoint for the presentation. I'm going to only get through part of this. These recordings only allow me 15 minutes. So we'll start and we'll see how far I get, and then I'll make another one. So presentation communication. Oh, this is not big enough. Just a second. Let me see if I can change this. There we go. Sorry. Oh, no, it's a certain size. We'll see how this goes. All right. So how do you prepare an effective oral presentation? Well, obviously you need to know your purpose. What do you want your audience to do? What do you want them to remember? What is the action you want them to take once they've heard you? Aim all parts of your talk toward that purpose. Make sure that all your content is relevant. It is content that you covered in your report. Images that you are including need to be relevant as well. All right, what is the most important thing you found as you did your research for your report? What stood out to you? Why did you choose the one that you chose? What key idea is it that you're bringing? And these notes apply not just to the presentation that you're giving to me, but to all presentations that you will be doing here at the college. So think about your content. All right, know your audience. I have constantly throughout this course told you who your audience was. When you get out into the work world, you will not always be that familiar with the person that you are presenting to. So be sure that you know as much about them as possible, their education level, their language level, how many people will be there, what their background is. Do they know the technical language that is used in your field? All those things are important to know. And then decide how you're going to deliver your information. Do they need a lot of background? Will they be expecting you to be somewhat humorous? Will they expect you to be very formal? What supporting material do they need? Do they want to see all the data and statistics, or do they prefer a general overview with a few images and mostly you bringing knowledge verbally rather than visually? Understand your audience. All right, so as always, we have the three-part structure, and you will begin with your introduction. Capture people's attention. One great way to do this is to establish your credibility. You've done the research. You are the authority on this topic, so make sure they recognize that. Preview your main points. People love to know when they are being told that you're up for 5 minutes, what's coming? What content is it that you're bringing that's interesting, that's important enough for them to take time to listen to you? And as I've said before, of all the material you reviewed, what do you remember best? Can this be used as part of your introduction? Did it grab your attention? Would it grab the audience's attention? Is it appropriate for your introduction, or do you need to save it for the body? But do be sure to use something interesting to get that VP on board, realizing this purchase needs to be made. What is it that will grab that attention? All right, for your content, for the body, you're going to be developing 3 main points. It says 2 to 4. Make sure you cover all 3 options that you investigated thoroughly. Make sure you investigate and cover them in a parallel manner. So if you're talking about 4 different points on the first item, make sure you cover those same 4 points for your second and third items. Arrange them logically. And depending on what your presentation is about, this is outside of our assignment, how would it be sensible for you to present your content? Most important to least important, chronologically, via time. For your purposes, it might be via price. Hard to say how you want to organize it, but make sure there's logic behind it. And lastly, for a live presentation in the workplace, having more information than necessary is always a good thing. For this presentation, you would have had access to the websites so that if somebody wanted more detail, you would be able to flip over to that content and show them. It's always good to expect what questions might be asked and have the information available, whether or not you thought it was important enough to include in the presentation itself. It's still good to have that information available. And for your conclusion, of course, it's the most important part of this assignment because you're making a recommendation and you are expecting action. So make sure that you summarize what it is you covered and leave them with an important takeaway. And for this assignment, the purpose of the takeaway is to recommend action, get them to spend the money. You've presented all this information. You're now going to convince them, persuade them that your choice is the wise one and that this is necessary for the company. So make sure you include that in the conclusion. And lastly, it is good, it is good, I'm just going to try to move this down, to include a statement that allows you to leave the podium gracefully. If you are presenting in person, you know that some people will just finish their last statement and run, and it's not always a good look. So make sure you thank your audience for their time and attention, that you look forward to hearing their decision on the recommendation that you've made, something that just gives a professional exit as you conclude your presentation. All right, I'm almost out of time, so I'm going to leave it there and I will move on to the next recording. So thanks for your patience with this process. I'll talk to you again in a second.